you ever gave up hope, looking for a way to cope, all alone in a castle by yourself, knowing you were made to rule, looking like a royal fool, if you only had someone to help. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. Here's what I propose we do. I'm gonna count on you, give you all the cheese that you could ever want. If you wanna be your best, put your trap up to the test. Buy some super brie and watch the suckers come. Oh, yeah. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. Yeah, I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. Had you ever gave up hope, looking for a way to cope, all alone in a castle by yourself? We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run. We got to clean these rodents out. There ain't no way we're gonna let them run this place. I'll show them what this king's about. It won't be long before we get them on the run.
Hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. I forgot how long that song was. It's got some length to it. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I'm Dave. It's Feedback Friday, and what day is it? It is December 8th. December is just marching all along here. A happy great winter hunt to everybody in the chat. Hope everyone is doing well. Hello, Alex, Lynn. Mac is excited to be here. Hello, Chang. Hey, Michelle, nice to see you. Roger, Clay, Lady Nutsy, nice to see you as always. Good morning to you as well. Lynn, how's the great winter hunt? Well, a happy winter hunt to you. YX asking the important MouseHunt questions such as what did you have for breakfast? All right, well, I think it was yogurt today. Yeah, no banana, yogurt today. Celine, what merry seasons to you as well. Good morning, Diamond, Ryan, Nathan, Swift, Fresso, hello, hello. Iggy, good morning to you as well. Jess, welcome on in. C-Lot, you noticed a lot of ultimate charms from Hadit Zokor golems, eh? Well, maybe we can play around, send out a few golems today as well. I don't think that was touched. Actually, if you haven't had a chance to yet, in the patch notes section, tried to summarize the best we could what sort of changed from last year's event to this year's event. And there was a lot of variables in play, but we tried to keep notes as we went of kind of everything that was different from last year to this year. Maybe we missed one or two things, but we tried our best to get it all in there. So if you check out the patch notes section, actually, that's a great spot to see any kind of tweaks and changes from last year. Well, hopefully still leaving a little bit of fun things to discover on your own as well. Rachel, hello to you, Mac, as well. Well, today as well thought, as always, we could get some feedback, initial impressions on the Great Winter Hunt, especially with events, any of the recurring events. What we often do is we keep our ear to the ground. We poke our heads into various Facebook groups, the community Discord, even the Reddit has a few posts, the subreddit has a few posts now and then as well. And, quite a few of the devs just keep our ear to the ground. We lurk here and there, and we keep some notes on feedback items. And it's really great for events as well, knowing, it's a good chance the event will be run again. And we just schedule that to look at it, a few months before that event is going to run. Pull up the notes, start brainstorming around that, and it's quite useful as well. So, as always, I'll kind of keep down some notes. Feedback Friday is another good spot as well to collect some feedback, hence the name. Iggy's enjoying the compressed jet streams we did. So, hey, that was a good example of a couple weeks ago, seeing feedback. Hunters were excited to see those compressed jet streams. They were originally, part of the identity of last year's winter hunt with the frost globes. That kind of went away, but, we found a spot, put them in with the floating islands golem rewards. And like I said, we're still brainstorming, nothing for sure. There's no definite plans, but, originally we wanted to find a permanent home for them somewhere. And we already kind of have a few notes written down for later in the year of where we may add them if it works out. Subject to change, play testing, and all that. It might not work out when we sit down and crunch the numbers, or we play through it and it doesn't work out. It's not very fun. But there's a few ideas of where we might want to add those crates so you can get them anytime you're hunting in the floating islands. Speaking of hunting, I gotta sound my horn. My horn's ready. That is important. All right, how we doing? We have 7 hailstones left. I gotta watch out. I'm gonna have to switch my setup pretty soon. Wax, could you look into the attraction of the Glazy Mouse from Glazed Pecan? It seemed low. It's the exact same as last year, so there's not just the Glazy Mouse as well. It attracts the Joy and the Snowflake as well. So in the long haul, you do get parts a little bit quicker because you are attracting those 3 mice, but we haven't really touched that this year. It seemed to work out okay last year. There's certainly a lot of parts. It's hard to run out of parts while you're using glazed. Nathan, lowered golem drop rate in the fortress makes you sad. We didn't really touch any of that, so it might just be a little bit of confirmation bias. So what's with the geese? It was interesting, kind of getting some feedback. And it was an interesting process we went through there. Originally thinking, well, we're leaning toward beans being kind of the main identity of those rewards, and just kind of goes to show when we set that up and we played through the event. We played it for a good 3-4 weeks, basically, the equivalent thereof, and then we went to the beanstalk afterwards, right? And it was kind of not fun having all these beans but not enough fertilizer. And so he's like, all right, let's just now that we know how that feels, flip the script a little bit, and we go, okay, what if you get more fertilizer but not enough beans? And all of a sudden it was fun again because you were diving into the rooms. You were paying a lot of close attention to what rooms were coming up. You had to do some resource management again. So that just kind of goes to show once we play tested it and how everything's a little bit subject to change. Often what seems to make sense on paper doesn't always work out that way. But then that kind of opened up the room a little bit where the goose could be an item that a golem can return with. That said, it is probably, I don't know for sure, but it might be the very rarest thing that you can find from a golem. It is even more rare than some other quite rare items that golems can find. CCM Scrib, welcome on in. Hope you're having a good day. Sean, happy Friday Eve before Friday Eve before Friday Eve. The holidays. Oh, we're going deep there, Sean. Yeah, December is just marching along. There's a few weeks to go. I mean, it'll be just time's flying by. Scribby forgot what time it is. Your timing is out of whack today. Sometimes Fridays can have that effect. Mac, the daily gift limit is 25, is low. How many friends do you have more than 75? Yeah, we had to kind of find a limit for it somewhere, right? So, that's kind of where we settled at. Years ago, we did tweak the gift limit a little bit so you could send more than you could claim, just so you can kind of return, reciprocate gifts. But, understandably, especially during the winter hunt, there's a lot of daily gifts going out. But, hopefully you can find 25 friends to be exchanging gifts with. Thank you, Michelle. Even put a link to the patch notes right in the chat for your clicking convenience. That does itemize things. I think the only thing that we noticed after the fact, I amended the patch notes probably about an hour after the event had started, was that storm cells. We increased the frequency, but the quantity of them is down a little bit. But that said, we also added the compressed jet stream. So it's a little bit of a balancing act to kind of get the floating islands in terms of, speed and what have you, kind of tweak things around a little bit. So there's a little bit of give and a little bit of take in there. Joe, have you thought about adding a new way of playing MouseHunt, like playing it through Discord, like other bots and what have you? It might be a little bit of a challenge. Who knows? Long term, it would require a little bit of overhaul to explore new and creative clients. But no, and it's not really practical for us right now. Swift's enjoying a permanent source of the jet stream, or saying voting yes for adding a permanent source to the jet stream, saying yay, perma jet stream source. Again, no promises, not a guarantee, but we do have a few notes. I think there's about 3 ideas we're considering, and we wrote them down and we kind of placed them. We have some scheduling software, and you can just place some notes on a certain day, and then it works very well. Every week we kind of do a quick little meeting to get organized, and those notes will pop up. It's like, hey, does somebody want to go take a look at those this week? And maybe brainstorm with 1 or 2 other people, and the next week come back with summary or a little bit of a pitch of what we could do with those ideas. Math, Merry Christmas minus all the days left. Same to you, Math. Welcome on in. Yo, Fleming, hope you're having a good day. Iggy, there's talks about how Festive Spirit change is kind of broken for ice shards since you only get 6 per hunt. Yeah, we toyed around a little bit with that. It wasn't quite the same as Halloween. There's something double is a lot more fun. So we wanted to kind of make that work a little bit nicer, where it wasn't +1. Sometimes it's a little harder to wrap your head around. It feels more fun when it's doubled. But the ice shards were a little bit of a concern for us as well. But, when we play tested it at the beginning, it's very impactful. But as your golems level up, it's the cost of upgrading them goes up exponentially. So, after 3 or 4 weeks, it kind of faded away. It's very important at the beginning. It feels very rewarding and impactful, but then it sort of shifts away, and the difference wasn't as wide as we thought it would be. Originally, we were playtesting a version where we just made the ice shards exempt from the Festive Spirit bonus entirely, but that didn't feel very fun either. And then eventually we settled on, hey, the mice drop it when you're firing the cannon, and even narrative-wise, that's what those shards are supposed to be. They're little chips of the ice shield that are breaking off, and you use them to reinforce your golem generators. Jason, happy winter hunt to you as well. I'm getting behind in the chat already. Here we go. Great winter hunt changed the gameplay next year. We'll see, Len. We kind of play it by year every year. The golems are quite beloved, so... we just refreshed things last year to kind of give the golems a brand new feel while keeping kind of the parts that everybody loved about it, while hopefully adding some new gameplay, some new resources to manage and make the journey about it a little bit different. So I would imagine we would probably keep it the same. That said, we already have some notes. There's already some more things we wish we had time to do, and we couldn't quite get them in. So we do have some ideas for next year. Even the animated snowstorms being as popular as they were last year, we're going to try to run 2 this year. Because there's 2, the drops of animated snow are going to be a little bit less. They're not quite half. They're maybe cut back by like 20-30%, something like that. But you get 2 storms. So all in all, it comes out ahead. As well as with the Festive Spirit effect doubling things, it was a little too powerful to have such large drops. So we settled on bringing the quantities down a little bit, run 2 storms. But all that was to segue, and we had some ideas of, it might be fun if instead of it being scheduled, although it fits very nicely with, weather, a weather front coming in. I like the story element. But something where you could control it, especially with the reward track. We're doing ideation around the last step of the reward track being something you can complete over and over, and every time you complete it, it triggers a snowstorm for you, or gives you, you know, a little item, a snow globe. You can smash it, and it gives you a little bit of a snowstorm for a bit. So, you know, there's lots of kind of ideation, little notes we kept for next year. Mr. Zoni, how much? That's a bit of a personal question, Zoni. Iggy, is it rarer than the rib last year? Yes, I would say the goose. If strictly from memory here, I think this year the goose would be rarer than the rib was last year. Swift, what happened to the Great Winter Hunt themed hunter's horn that Jacob drew last week? See, it was a little bit of a last minute addition. The timeline on that was just a little bit tight. We did implement it, but unfortunately, once it was in, we noticed the design needs a few adjustments. Just kind of once it was in place, the stripes on the horn created some distorting effects next to some other pieces of art that are on the UI, and so it ended up almost kind of, it was hard to focus on. It was a little distracting. So we're tuning that up. Jacob's going to make a few adjustments, and then we're going to get it back into place, see how it looks. So you know, I'm confident over the next week or two we should be able to get that in, unless we just keep butting heads against the design a little bit of getting it to work out. What's the next event after the Winter Hunt YX? It is the Lunar New Year event, where you can double and triple loot jobs. So it's great to plan ahead. The Winter Hunt is a great event because it is all about collecting loot. Right? You can send your golems across throughout the kingdom, get a lot of loot, and if you plan ahead a little bit, what do you think you might do in Lunar New Year? You know, start stockpiling some cheese and different supplies you might need to really make a go of it for those 2 weeks of Lunar New Year. For example, hey, I'm at the beanstalk. I'm making sure I've got lots of fertilizer, I've got lots of beans, and I can do some great haul runs to get double and triple egg drops. Ryan, thinking the festive spirit change was fine, eh? Did make the decision of how you fire your cannons a little bit more nuanced. And I always like kind of seeing hunters going back and forth, a little bit of a, you know, healthy debate discussion about, well, how many should I turn on? I don't know. And they're like, should I turn them all on? Should I turn one on? It's always nice when the answer is, well, it kind of depends. Hold on, I need to ask you a few more questions. That's a good sign. It's an interesting choice. So that kind of made it more fun. Happy holidays to you as well, Pete. Fleming liking the storm cells. Jonathan, hello to everybody in the chat. Hello, Jonathan. I'm almost getting caught up on chat. I'm trying here. Can you add a function that allows us to search for a specific item in our marketplace transaction history? Sounds like a good idea. Hey, I would agree that's a good idea. No specific plans for it. It's tough. As I've often lamented, probably one of the more stressful parts about our job is we're a small team and we've got a million pretty good ideas that could go in there. The idea bank is quite huge and the to-do list is long. And you know, sometimes that's the most stressful part, where we're changing, we're sort of finishing up something and we're getting ready to work on the next thing, is picking what to work on next, because there's just so much. I wish we could just do it all. There's only so many hours in the day. Nathan asking, did adding ultimate luck power charms lower the ultimate charm chance? Yes, Nathan, as outlined in the patch notes, when we added something new, that means everything else gets a little bit more rare. You can kind of think of it like jelly beans in a jar. If you've got 50 red and 50 blue jelly beans in a jar, you know, if I add 50 green jelly beans to the jar, now when I reach in, it's harder to pick a green and a red. So it's kind of increased the pool of possible outcomes, so each individual one is a little bit lower. Iggy, I assume the goose is only from a scarf. It is from a scarf or a hat. You have a chance at a goose from the beanstalk. That said, it is extremely rare. So it's a little bit more reliable. Hey, you're also getting fertilizer and you're getting beans. Like I said, after the winter hunt ends, when you go back to the beanstalk, you might even be a little bit surprised to see just how many beans you've got on that HUD, how much cheese you're ready to craft, and you'll be all set for Lunar New Year as well. So hey, even if you don't get lucky with getting a goose from one of your golems, you'll have everything you need during Lunar New Year to get many geese. Wax, could you add more sources to get the prolific printing paper than crafting it? So it is available in all of the Folklore Forest locations for different costs. You can buy it with crop coins from the farm, pond pennies from the pond, Nobel prizes from the table of contents, and golden eggs from the beanstalk. And that is something we're looking to continue as we release new areas in the Folklore Forest. So the School of Sorcery will also have a way, that's the plan anyway, obviously, grain of salt, subject to change. But we're planning to add a way to get it from the School of Sorcery as well. There's similarly a material that you might use to be purchasing other upgrades and equipment that you will unlock from that area. And when you own everything, it's like, what else do I do with this? You can buy prolific printing paper with it, and the base will work in that area as well. It will work in the School of Sorcery, it will work in the area to come after that, and it'll work in the 3 areas to come after that as well, if all goes according to plan. But take that with a pinch of salt, just in case plans change. We're getting ahead of ourselves a bit. Sparrow's loving all the fertilizer drops from the beanstalks. The mythical giant king has quickly become one of your favorites. Glad to hear it, Sparrow. I think that's always a beauty about MouseHunt, is there's so many areas. Everything has a familiar feel to it. You're always hunting mice, but each area is unique. Everyone can kind of find the area that they like and have a favorite mouse. That's always nice when a game can appeal to different types of players in different ways that way. Matt, thanks, Dave. Hope you're doing well. Well, thank you, Matt. I didn't sleep the best last night, to be honest, so we'll see. I might go downhill a little bit if my voice gives out. Sometimes we don't sleep the best. You got a little bit of a dry throat. You can't speak for too long, but so far so good. I'm holding up well. Scrib today is mental. Hope things are more chill on everyone else's end. Scrib's having a busy day. Sally's loving the golems. Peter's saying hello, MouseHunt land. Kenneth, have you considered allowing us to choose how many jingle bells to use? It's not a bad idea. It just, some ways it adds a little bit of complexity, but it doesn't really add a whole lot of, interesting interaction. So, I can see the niche case where you might want to even out your golems a little bit. But I would say just, at the end of the day, just wait it out a little bit. And it's just kind of, there's already enough things going on. The interface already has a lot of complexity. There's already 3 areas, and each area has its own little kind of thing to learn about that, just adding one more button, one more input field. It makes us think twice, basically. So I can understand how that would be useful sometimes, but sometimes you got to know when to put the brush down a little bit. One more stroke of the paintbrush and the painting is ruined, type of thing. Anders, welcome on in. Hope you're doing well. Pedro, fertilizer drops are definitely OP. Not sure how you feel about that. That's why we were hesitant to do it originally, but when we play test through it, actually, it all worked out as something pretty fun. In terms of an objective baseline, right? Because, if you ask different people, what should the golems give? What shouldn't they give? You're going to get, you could ask 100 people and get 100 different answers, and so that's all good to keep in your mind somewhere. But we have to kind of start with some sort of objective baseline. And where we start is each golem, you send it out for 25 hunts. When it comes back with about 25 hunts worth of loot. For example, just to make the math easy, let's say you went somewhere and you're collecting scrap metal. And every mouse has a 50% chance to drop scrap metal. I'm going to make the math hard here, aren't I? In 25 hunts, you should have about 12 and a half scrap metal, right? I could have picked better numbers here, but anyway, because half the time you should get it, after 25 hunts, you should have 12 and a half, should be the average outcome. And so that's kind of where we start with the golems. Each golem, it basically almost represents, what if I went and I hunted for 25 hunts? And you have to sort of extrapolate it, because obviously fertilizer takes, a while to get a decent little drop of it. And so you get kind of, after 1,000 hunts, how many fertilizer drops did I get? Divide that by 1,000, times it by 25. That's kind of where we try to start with the golems. So when you have 2 golems out, it's like a double loot event. And when you have 3 golems out, it's kind of like a triple loot event. And so in that sense, the fertilizer isn't too far off of, well, if I just spent that time at the beanstalk, I'd be getting about that much fertilizer. And, obviously it's kind of not a precise science either. But that's kind of where we start with. And like I said, it was interesting. We were a little nervous to do that. Originally, it wasn't like that. And we flipped the script. We said, all right, let's take the beans down and let's go back to the beanstalk. And what's more fun? I show up at the beanstalk and I've got more than enough beans, but I don't have fertilizer. Or I go to the beanstalk and I have too much fertilizer, but not enough beans. It was way more fun to have too much fertilizer and not enough beans. Because you can start going to the ballroom and collecting some rubies. You can use you can go get some harp strings. All of a sudden, you're really caring. You're going through all 3 floors. And you have a more fun journey where you're kind of really engaged with the rooms that you're trying to find. Whereas the other was just kind of flat. It's like, well, I guess I'm in and out, in and out. All I need to do is get fertilizer. And there's not a lot of choice in the fertilizer. CCM, the game, is about loot. There's a lot of resource management in the game, that's for sure. Keem, will we see School of Sorcery before or after the event season? So no official release date on it yet, but odds are it's going to be after event season. We got a few events. They all kind of run back to back, so everything needs its own bit of time. Like we have Lunar New Year birthday event. The spring egg hunt always kind of closes out event season, and then the School of Sorcery is pretty well good to go. You know, we do a little bit more every once in a while, come back with fresh eyes, play test it again. But we're already kind of working on what comes after the School of Sorcery in terms of development. Potato, any expectations for overhauling the birthday or the egg hunt? Not this year. No, we kicked around a few different birthday ideas, and ultimately nothing really stuck. And so, you know, rather than change for the sake of change, so that, you know, we'll wait till we have that right idea that really fleshes out well. Lazy Gamer, it'd be nice if there's a subscription for an auto horde feature. Living up to the name. No, Lazy Gamer, you do have to show up and you got to click it. That said, hey, your friends can take you on a hunt for up to an hour after you leave. Iggy, speaking of pecan pecorino, it seems really expensive, like one piece, one hunt, 40k gold. Oh, for the prolific printing paper. All right, we got to get our acronym straight here. It is a very powerful effect, so you know, it's kind of balanced with that in mind. It's you know, it's not something you should be able to just go and buy thousands of it and then set it and forget it, and you just always have 57 luck. You know, so it's a little bit more expensive, so you have to choose to use it when it matters. Winnow, welcome on in, saying hello from Singapore. Well, hello from Canada. 2 years ago, you're in Toronto for a student exchange. You miss all the winter. Well, hopefully you enjoyed your time here. I'm way up in the chat here. Hold on. Let's see if we can plow through this here. Jonathan's loving all the loot. Sally, what happened to the Great Winter Hunt? The themed hunter's horn that Jacob illustrated last week. There's a few issues getting it implemented, and it needs some art tweaks. Just kind of a few things looked out of place. So went over it a little bit earlier in Feedback Friday, but you know, the short of it is the stripes caused a distortion effect when you saw it, and it was a little bit distracting. Like, it looked like it wasn't, you know, it was kind of crooked a little bit, and it looked a little out of focus. The white in the horn against the white background of some of the areas, it made it kind of blend in, and it was hard to see the horn. So anyway, a few design tweaks, but we're hoping we can get that in place, hopefully next week. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you going through every comment. I'm trying. Hey, it's hard. All right, I try my best, but you know, sometimes I spend 30 seconds answering something or commenting on something, and then in those 30 seconds comes 30 more answers. So it's a snowball effect. You know, I'm like the stuck snowball mouse. The questions are snowballing. Here you go, again answering the question there as well. Besides getting 25 Advent chocolate from the calendar and the off chance of getting it from the maps, is there another way to get Advent chocolates? I think that's it that I recall, but you know, maps are a great source of Advent chocolates. You certainly have lots of time to do quite a few maps before the end of the event. Swift going, how 1 + 1 + 3 do FF areas? Yeah, we'll see. Again, subject to change. And I won't go too far off topic, but like I said, we have the School of Sorcery. Then we're working on something that's a little... What's the right word? What's the right teaser word here? I don't want to say spicy. We're going to turn up the heat a little bit with the next area. That's the plan. We're going to want to turn up the heat a little bit. And then if all goes according to plan, we'd like to sort of make the finale of that storyline. You know, you finally can thwart the Myth Weaver. I hope so anyway. Someone's got to stop that Myth Weaver, right? Over a kind of a larger scale area that may take you across multiple locations, a little bit like this it started. You know, so often a story sort of ends the same way it started. You know, a song ends on the same note that it begins with most of the time. So we kind of wanted to do a bit of a parallel between the start of the region and the end of the region, if it even continues to all be within one region, but I think we can make that work. Anyway, we're getting way too far off topic, off of things that are far from concrete, so I'm going to get in trouble soon. Roger, is the Folklore Forest vision meant? We're getting into Folklore Forest here to make use of every single power type. Well, hey, it's somewhat relevant with the base, this year's base, right? I don't know about every power type. Rift would probably be off the table, but who knows? It's too soon to say. I'm already getting into foggy territory here where I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to be saying things that we don't end up doing, and hunters have long memories. Somebody will post a clip of me saying, see what you said 4 years ago? Why are we still waiting on this? But we're just sharing our plans. You know, often it's nice, then like I said at the start, we keep our ear to the ground. And that's why it's kind of nice just to float out some rough ideas. Because, you know, sometimes hunters get really excited about that. And then that's kind of just a nice little confirmation and nice little motivation to keep going down that path. Where sometimes people are like, that's a really weird idea. I don't know what they're thinking with that. I was like, okay, maybe we better, workshop that a little bit more. So, it's fun to share even kind of some rough ideas before they're necessarily ready to share. I think it does more good than harm. But, a little bit of cooperation on everyone else's end, knowing that plans often change. So when we start talking about, things months or years away, they're not promises. Yeah, Lewis getting Advent chocolates from Maps. That's a good way to do it. Pedro, any chance to buy more things with Advent chocolates except for the new skins? There are some charms. It's maybe not the most interesting cash out for the Advent chocolates, but their main identity is to buy the trap skins. And certainly somebody new coming to the game, there are a lot. If your goal is to collect them all, there's quite a few. Now, if you've been playing for many years and you've sort of been getting those skins, year after year, you can get them off the marketplace as well. So there's many ways to go about it, but there are some charms you can get with the Advent chocolates. Darren, you started playing this game when you first came out with your best mate. You played it together all the time. You're 45 now. You passed away 5 years ago. Well, sorry to hear that. Hopefully you have some fond memories of playing the game together as well. You can live on in spirit that way. Zelot, one mouse hunter got 3 ultimate charms from a handed Zocor. I think Norm spotted that out too. Norm got pretty excited by that. Darren, you picked up the game again. It reminds you of him. Great memories. Well, that's good to hear. Lewis, you can get ultimate luck or power charms with the Advent chocolates. There you go. There's a bit of a cash out. Ryan's considering one of the best loots will be Fabled Fertilizer because they are hard to earn from normal hunting in the Beanstalk. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a pretty appealing one. Keep an eye on how much you're getting as you send out golems. You might feel like you have enough now to last you for a little bit, and you might want to add some variety, send out some golems to some other areas. But, like I said, it was a little eye-opening for us when we play tested through it. It was a lot more fun when the event came to a close and you finally go back to the Beanstalk. It was way more fun to have more fertilizer than you had beans to kind of use all the fertilizer, because then you get to do the fun part, finding good rooms, activating your condensed creativity at just the right time, switching to your ruby cheese, arming your powerful charms. You get to play with the room and have fun getting the loot drops. So it was a lot more fun than if you had too many beans and not enough fertilizer. It felt like there was nothing to do. Dave, could you add a magical hat or magical holiday scarf as one of Larry's freebies? YX, I'm doing this from memory, so please forgive me if I'm wrong, but I am fairly confident that there is a hat. I don't think there is a scarf. That said, there are scarves on the reward track. So, keep your eye on the reward track. There's 3 that you can see. Diamond is the King's giveaway coming in 2024, probably, but no promises. But I'd like to do one. Hopefully we can make that work. I've already lost my position in the chat. I scroll and it goes to the bottom. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Sally, it'd be cool if you could choose what horn image you use. That would be neat too. But alas, it might be a little bit lower in the priority. Summit, the Advent calendar seems a bit downgraded with just one Advent chocolate from it. You always got one Advent chocolate from it, so that's the same as it's always been. But if you open the door on the day which it unlocks, you do get a bonus item, and there's some pretty good bonus items in there. And it's, some ways it's just a little bit of fun, right? You're counting down the days of the winter hunt. Lewis asking, where's our candy cane horn? I should just put something up on the screen here. A little news ticker going by, but it needs a few art tweaks. It didn't quite fit in. When we went to implement it, it didn't fit into the spot where the horn goes, basically. It's a little more complicated than that. But we're working on it. We're working on that. Summit worried 256 beans is not good loot for a hat or scarf. There's a bit of a rule when you're kind of getting random things that something has to be not as good as something else. It's an infallible law of putting together a drop table. No matter what you do, right? If you put all good stuff on it, something's still going to be the worst thing on there. So the identity of those golems really is fertilizer, and it's quite intentional. Like I pointed out at the start here, we've commented a few times because we went back and forth with the beanstalk. Originally, we had it a lot of beans and not a lot of fertilizer. And we went back to the beanstalk. That was a very unfun situation to find yourself into, so we flipped the script. Now, you don't get quite enough beans, but you're getting a pretty good amount of fertilizer. So I would say if you don't like the beans, if you think it's not a good reward from the hat or the scarf, don't send your golems to the beanstalk. Choose another area, and that reward's just not for you, right? Whereas other hunters, they might enjoy those rewards. And so that's kind of the nice thing about the Winter Hunt. You can pick any area in the game to send your golems to. So if you don't like what you get from a certain area, just pick another area. Dave, is the Lunar New Year the same as previous iterations? You're looking forward to double fertilizer just from the maestro during the event. There's no plans to really make too many significant changes. As always, everything gets kind of tweaked and tuned a little bit. We record our feedback just like the Winter Hunt, right? We recorded feedback last year and we tried to incorporate it into this year, just like we're recording feedback to probably incorporate into the next year. Norm's on the edge of his seat. I think I'm getting caught up on chat. I think now there's comments on things I said 5 minutes ago. Uh-oh. Heat. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're turning up the heat. I just coined a phrase that I'll probably regret. Sorry, Norm. Peter, don't go too crazy with new mice. You're finally getting close to 100% silvers. There's a few new mice coming in the School of Sorcery, and it kind of comes down to the area, right? You need a certain cast of characters to make it work sometimes. But Ray, it seems weird the Frostkin catches scoreboard did not reset the season. Yeah, that's fair enough, Ray. And it's it's technically working as intended, but I understand it's a little bit odd. It's kind of a technical challenge for us, just the way the mouse scoreboards work. Yeah, again, it's on that list of just, I wish I could snap my fingers and get it done, but there's only so many hours in the day. I would love to overhaul the scoreboard system. But we just can't find time to do it. I feel like I just want a whole army of people working on the game to get it all done, but alas, that's just not feasible. So, but it's good. It's good to bring up in conversations different suggestions, feedback, observations, because even if we can't act on it all, what it does is it helps us determine our priorities. So it's nice, just like I said, we keep our ear to the ground, and the more we see a comment come up, every once in a while too, somebody just has a really good thing, a good point. They just make a really strong argument for something. And, even just that being one voice can really advocate for something. And like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. That needs to be a higher priority than other things we have on the go. But like I said, that's the biggest struggle we have. There's only a few of us working on the game, and there is endless things to work on. Scrib, you're cooking a food-themed stuff in-game, always well done. I hope we're cooking like food-themed stuff, eh? There have been restaurant ideas floated around here and there, believe it or not, but none of them quite simmered quite right. But Nano might be onto something. What's CCM saying? Michelle, can you punish Dave for spoilers? Uh-oh, yeah. I'm going to get in trouble. Well, Iggy, that's nice to say. You guys do a great job balancing the game versus paid versus not, so it's not too pay to win. That's always something we try to get the balance on, and it's something you got to kind of tune and try to find the right balance. And for sure, I think we get it wrong sometimes, but I think we get it right more often than we get it wrong. The Winter Hunt is actually a pretty good example of that, where there's two tiers of the cheese, right? So we can make collecting the pecan cheese. Like if I think back years ago, it was always you could buy the event cheese, right? If you can support the game, buy some event cheese, and you get to sort of skip the phase where you collect cheese. But it always felt kind of significant. It wasn't very fun to have to collect that cheese. And so by having two tiers of cheese, it kind of allowed us to have, okay, there's the experience of collecting pecan, and we can dial it way up. I think you get something like, 1.5 pecan per hunt. I could be way off, but it's pretty good. Whereas other areas where maybe you get 0.5 per hunt, or in other words, you do 2 hunts with regular cheese to get 1 piece of event cheese. It's kind of the other way around in the Winter Hunt. And by having the 2 tiers of cheese, it helped us create 2 specific experiences, and that helped bring them together a little closer. But it's something we keep a close eye on. I think it goes for the whole team. We all want to make a game, the type of game that we like to play, right? And I don't think there's too many people out there that think pay to win is very fun. So that's kind of what our motivations are, to try to get that balance right. But it can be difficult. It can be tricky. Sometimes we mess it up. Limbo, returning player of 14 years, realized you're situated in Toronto. Any free cheese if we drop by the office? I don't know. I don't think we have proper refrigeration for cheese in the office. Hey, the fertilizers are extremely important. If the golem doesn't bring them back, then it's not much point, eh? Well, it goes back, right? If everything's good, then nothing is, right? For something to be special, there needs to be something that's less special. So, just food for thought, right? And don't think about it so much in like one golem at a time. Sit back in your chair and imagine the haul that you're going to have after several weeks, right? And if it was the other way around, right, it's kind of, if you always get the same thing every time, then it starts to feel very flat. You typically want those highs and those lows, because that's what creates an entertaining story. an entertaining experience, and through a lot of games as well. If you think of other games, I don't know, it's like a racing game and you can activate your turbo boost, right? But if you just always had a limited turbo boost, it's not very fun and strategic anymore. It's just, it becomes the new speed your car goes. So, same thing. Kind of there needs to be those highs and those lows. Ooh, that was a good one. That one wasn't as good. Ooh, that was a little better. Ooh, that one was really good, right? And just, naturally, that's kind of typically what makes us feel entertained, even in movies and books and stories, right? The story needs to have, ups and downs, low moments, comedic relief. There needs to be these phases and transitions, or you just kind of burn out on it. But anyway, I'm firmly rambling now here. Rashawn, you missed the initial 25 minutes. Disappointed the goose is found in the hat slots when it was supposed to be got through traditional means. We did go over that a little bit, and just the identity of the golems kind of changed and opened up the opportunity to add the goose. It kind of made sense ultimately. Maybe too, you could explain a little bit more. Rather than saying I'm disappointed to see it, say why. Always the why is the big important question. And that's, feedback we can act upon when we kind of understand the motivations behind feedback as well. But rest assured, it is very rare. In fact, if somebody sent every single golem that they had to the beanstalk all event long, and then you had somebody else just go to the beanstalk to go collect eggs starting from scratch, literally just, they don't even have fertilizer, the person at the beanstalk would end up with more geese than the person from the event. All right, so they're rare. They're sufficiently rare from the golems. Fleming Advent calendars give chocolates noted. Arbitrary request limit the number of hunts to disarm cheese. It's chilling out in the idea bank. There's just some challenges to do it, but we'll see. But for now, it's something you need to keep an eye on as a hunter. That's kind of what's going on at my camp. And there's certainly alternatives. You can move around a little bit. You can swap your cheese to get something like that going. Rashawn, does that mean we can skip both new areas and wait for the Great Winter Hunt next year, eh? I don't think so, Rashawn, but... Pedro Horns collection used to have this journal themes. Love the idea. That would be fun. You could even, arm your spooky hunter's horn when it's not Halloween, but we'll see. There's not any immediate plans to add a toggle for that. In some ways, it's nice when it pops up. It's a reminder of, oh yeah, there's a horn theme for that. Rashawn, especially when Dave said there wouldn't be the goose drop in last Feedback Friday. And, we need a sufficient disclaimer, right? Because it's Feedback Friday. It's not Announcement Friday. And we like to share the ideas so we can kind of see what the sentiments are from hunters. Like I said, we keep our ear to the ground. And so, that's the downside to it, right? And, Rashawn, it's kind of... It's sentiments like that make me hesitate to share some ideas before they're in the game. But ultimately, I think it does more good than harm. It just lets us do our job better, and it makes the game more fun. So, just for what it's worth, until it's in the game, it's not in the game. And when we share ideas, it's to kind of see what hunters think so they can be included in that decision. And ultimately, it ended up making sense. So, there's no promises being made. When we jump on Feedback Friday, it's really about floating things out and then trying to collect that feedback. That's why we call it Feedback Friday. School of Sorcery already sounds fun, Sally. It's something to look forward to in the new year. It should be a go. It's pretty well, it's done. We can play it in its entirety right now. There are a few little tweaks and adjustments we might be making, but you can play it. Or we can play it, I guess, is more accurate. Tournaments before scoreboards, Ralph. Good. Noted the feedback. There you go. Nid wants to see Franco's shop one day. He's got that mystery cheddar pack for 1,000,000 gold and 10 cheddars inside. That seems sufficiently Franco shop worthy. Elusive, you saw the Golem gift box from the reward track. Wonder what's to be expected inside. So on browser, at least, you can click it to read the description. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get that in for mobile. It was a little late. Things were a little bit hectic on the winter hunt. We had some busy, probably the last 3 weeks. They were pretty busy. It wasn't too often that, when I closed down my work laptop for the day and I looked out, I was like, yeah, it's really dark out. What happened? Where did the day go? But we've been pretty busy for the last few weeks, kind of putting all the finishing touches in that. Just couldn't quite get that so you could click it. But, if you check it out on browser, and it basically hints that there are enough golem parts in there to build at least 3 golems. And there's a few other goodies in there as well. Well, come on in, Davium. I think I gotta scroll down on the chat here. It keeps jumping down. I'm going too slow. That's nothing new. Is a great winter hunt the only event with paid skins available through the Trapsmith the following year? You don't recall it happening for Halloween? I think it maybe did, but we're open to feedback on that. If that's something you wouldn't, like to see, like we were talking about earlier, finding that balance between, what's paid and what's free, and trap skins are a great fit because they're cosmetic as well. But if that's something that needs to be tuned. Fleming wants announcement Friday when. Maybe every now and then we have something like that. But for the most part, it's about sharing our ideas and seeing what ideas pop up in Hunters as well. Zappy asking which location to send for Ultimate Charm. Well, tell you what, just because we've been looking at this tree and gifts for long enough. Let's see here. Let's send out a golem. So Zappy, where do you think we should send a golem to try to find an Ultimate Charm? I'm gonna say we're going to Zokor for that. We're going to go fully dressed. Dressed for success. Another good spot might be, it's not necessarily an Ultimate Charm, but the Living Garden might be an okay choice as well. And where else should we try? I don't know where else you can get an Ultimate Charm from, to be honest. We'll just try those two areas. We'll start hunting. Thanks for patiently replying. You do remember subject to change, eh? And that goes for pretty well everything during Feedback Friday. Is everything subject to change, and it's the goal. And over the years, it's been 16 years, and sometimes I will say I get a little stressed out sometimes. About kind of sharing some things before they're quite fully cooked, before they're ready, right? In case we change something, because I know that can be a bit stressful for hunters as well. And so, sometimes I get a little bit anxious about that, but I just got to tell myself, because I believe it. I think it makes us better at working on the game. I think it ends up making the game more fun. So but it requires mutual cooperation on both ends. We've got to, say like, hey, subject to change, and we need everyone's cooperation to know these aren't, promises or announcements. They want to see what we think about what they're thinking, so that our, the thoughts that are going through our brains can be closer to the thoughts that are going through hunters' brains as well. Let's claim this golem. So Zappy wanted to see if we could get an Ultimate Charm. There you go, Zappy. Try out Zokor when you get a scarf. That was pretty good. Let's try the Living Garden. No, I was hoping to see an Eye Essence. But there's kind of another avenue to, depending on your preferences. Swifts is the windmill with a scarf. All right, let's do it. Okay, we're going to go to the windmill. We're going to upgrade this golem here. We can't send out a level 3. I'm going to say slot 3 is the lucky one here. Depending, if you're a crown, if you're working on King's Crowns, I'm going to say this is not a bad option. Okay, this isn't a bad pick. The windmill isn't necessarily a bad pick to use your scarf. It comes down to your goals. There's no wrong choice if it makes sense for you. If you want a King's Crown, that's a pretty good jump start. And a King's Crown. That's a lot of grilled cheese. Think of the size of the grill you would need to grill all that cheese. I remember I was looking at a pan. It's kind of like a square plant, like a griddle pan. And they advertised it, you can fit 8 grilled cheese in this pan at once. And I thought, that's what we're measuring size by now. It's not square feet, square centimeters, nothing like that. It's like, what is the grilled cheese capacity of this griddle? And you would need a very big griddle to be grilling all that cheese at once. That's a lot of grilled cheese. Zappy says the Zokor scarf was the best location last year. It's still pretty good. Like I said, we tried our best. If you check out the patch notes section, even as far as golem rewards, we try to itemize everything that was tweaked, but still leaving it a little bit of a fun thing to explore and discover. And it's kind of fun trading screenshots, right? I know a lot of people have fun even taking screenshots of what their golem came back with and browsing and helping decide like, ooh, that looks like that might be exciting. I'm going to try that. One dash. This is not the live game. So we kind of, depending on what we're doing, sometimes when we're playtesting, we start with absolutely nothing, and we got to go buy our standard cheese and get started. But today I thought, there was a decent chance that somebody may want to see a few golems come back, so I made sure to have some bells. That's it, I just sounded the horn to do it, so I kind of forgot I had the bells, but I thought the bells would be a way I could get the golems to come back quickly. There you go. Swift is even wondering too, why are you using the horn instead of using those bells? Yeah, I blanked out, that's why. Summit, are there any stats on how many how many hunts the average hunter does per day? That is a good question, and it is easy to answer. So right now, it is 49.6. So as of the last 7 days, hunters on average, if you do so much as one hunt, you're probably doing 49.6 is the average over the last 7 days. Is that Horn and Dave's mode reminds me of using a plunger, eh? Oh boy. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. All right. On the note of fully cooked, you are making a pork butt tomorrow as well. We'll see on that. Sounds delish. Hope it turns out well for you. Iggy, Fiery Forge, Villainous Volcano, Feverish Forge, Coast. What have I started? Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Norm's gonna smack me later, maybe. Can we see some beanstalk? You want to send a few to the beanstalk, eh? All right, let's send a few to the beanstalk. Ooh, watch out. Let's type. I'm going back to the windmill with that one, though. All right, here we'll use some bells. That's why I put them all in there, was to be able to do this with a few clicks. I will say, odds are, when a golem comes back from the beanstalk, there's usually at least one thing that you like seeing. It was kind of hard to get one to come back without at least one thing that you like seeing. Did a whole grilled cheese platter just for me. Making Scrib wants some grilled cheese. That does sound good. What do you feel about a little bit of tomato soup with that grilled cheese on a cold day? I think that's a pretty universal thing. Maybe a few garlic croutons in that tomato soup. You know, depending on the type of tomato soup, maybe just a little dollop of sour cream. We might be going too much into the soup and not enough on the cheese. Grilled cheese, are you going margarine on the outside? Or are you going mayonnaise on the outside? I feel like that's a controversial topic as well. But whatever you find delicious is the correct answer. Peter, 50 Fusion Fondue at the library with scarves helps with the M400. That's a pretty good golem as well. Library's not a peck. This was the fertilizer golem. This golem produced a lot of fertilizer. It's fabled fertilizer. I don't know what this golem was eating to produce that much fertilizer. Let's not make that canon, though. YX, would you choose to hat Lost City sand goals for higher tier essences or Living Garden, eh? All right, well, hey, let's try out the whole Living Garden complex. Let's send out a few golems. Let's play MouseHunt. Quick chat it. All right, let's see here. Where are we going? We are going to go to the Sandtail Desert. We are going to go one to the Living Garden, one to the Lost City. We're running out of test scarves. And one to the Sand Dunes. Hey, hey, hey. Lynn, is there no egg in the beanstalk? No. So that's kind of where we landed, because the fun part is going and like getting the eggs to drop. So we ended up on like fertilizer and, you know, some beans. It's maybe not quite enough beans to be able to go and use up all the fertilizer you're going to get. There's a rare chance of a goose in the beanstalk. I think that cat is out of the bag. But is it exceptionally rare? But, you know, rest assured, you're getting a lot of supplies, that, especially with Lunar New Year around the corner. You're going to be able to get a lot of eggs to get geese. Oh, we got a fell. Those are pretty good. Linaria petals just, I don't know if it's just the color of the petals. Every time I see those petals, I kind of get happy. I don't know what it is. Something about it. Somebody took me on a hunt. That's good. Mid's going mayo all the way. Japanese mayo on the grilled cheese. We're going back to the grilled cheese. The windmill made us all hungry, I think. Out of so many beans, well, just remember to keep an eye, too. Like, as you're sending out your golems, maybe, you know, once a week, on Mondays or Fridays, or pick a day of the week, right? And just maybe go check your inventory. Maybe disarm your cheese to be on the safe side. Travel to the beanstalk, or, you know, go to the geyser, or go to the Living Garden, wherever you're going, and, like, look on the HUD. and be like, all right, how am I doing here? Because maybe you want to start sending your golems somewhere else. You know, so every once in a while, I did it one year. I sent like all my golems, I think, to the Bristlewoods Rift. I was like, yeah, let's go. That sounds good. And then it ended, and I went back. I'm like, I don't need this many potions. I do not need this many supplies. This is overkill for me. And I kind of wish I sent my golems somewhere else. So keep tabs on that. You can almost have too much of a good thing. Can you try sending a golem to the Crystal Library? All right, let's do it. I got to claim this reward track here. Where are we sitting here? Ooh, got this guy. Gotta upgrade this golem. So where are we going? We're going to the Crystal Library. Sounds good to me. All right, let's do a Crystal Library golem. Yeah, the fusion fondue is awfully tasty. That's awfully tasty. The library points may leave something to be desired depending on where you're at in the area, but this was a challenging area because there's not a lot of resources going on. But it's a good scarf candidate. That's something to consider too. I know, lots of hunters as well. They'll be sending out their golems and they'll kind of save up the scarves and then send golems to different places when they're wearing a scarf. So something to consider. Nid's ready to play MouseHunt. Do some in the geyser. All right. I was wondering what we would go over today. And we're doing some golems. Can we just take a minute to appreciate the sparkly button? Just kind of makes you, just kind of puts you in the festive spirit. I don't know about you. Let's just appreciate the sparkly button for a minute. All right, we're doing a queso geyser golem. We're running out of scarves, though. We can't do too many more. Got the ember roots. So, again, it's a good source of getting wildfire. So after the event, you can head on over to the queso geyser, and you've got a pretty good stash of wildfire cheese. The geyser, if you send them to the river, you get a lot of bland queso. So if you just want to pump a lot of bland queso, the river's a good choice. You get roots from the plains. Not guaranteed, but you get roots from the plains. You get ember stones from the quarry. And then Queso Geyser kind of combines both of those onto the same sort of drop table, if you will, with some Dragonbane charms nestled in there as well. So it's a little bit of everything. Kind of covers the whole region that way, plus some Dragonbane charms is kind of the identity of the geyser. Fleming, can I say I really love the animation when you claim something from the reward track. That is a nice little touch, too. I think many people on the team appreciate that. I can actually still remember, I think Norm, there were screenshots. We were like, sharing screenshots of the interface coming together. And then Norm jumped in and he was doing some play testing. And so often what will happen, somebody will share their screen and we'll watch them play it. And they'll be thinking out loud and we'll be taking some notes. What do they think? And the first time he claimed that too, he was like, whoa, that is way bigger than I thought it was being. And I got really excited by it. So, I like that little animation myself as well. It definitely pops both literally and figuratively. Jason, the passing parcel doesn't look like it's available again. We just added that this morning, so that's fair enough. It is a collectible, right? So it should be in the game somewhere. There's a patch note today. If you are looking for a passing parcel, you can collect one from the Confused Courier Mouse, which is in the Ice Fortress, attracted to standard bait. If you already own one, the Confused Courier will not drop one. So you can only get one if you don't have one, but that'll fill that in. You can get that check mark. CCM, anything else able to be golemed that we could last year? I don't know what the verb golemed. I'm parsing that. You may have to clarify. Scarf to the mountain, says Lynn, eh? We're doing some things. Maybe it's out of curiosity because these may be areas that people would not want to risk sending a scarf to without knowing what they're going to get. We're going to the mountain. Abominable Asiago. That's kind of no surprise. A little bit of Super Breed too. And again, if you're at this stage of the game, that's probably a pretty, pretty good reward for you. Especially, remember, if you're newer to the game, lower level hunters, you can only send golems to areas that you have unlocked and you meet the title requirement of. So, definitely if you just started the game, this might be one of the highest level areas that you have unlocked is the mountain. But some Super Breed is going to go a long way, whether you kind of sell it on the market to buy some trap upgrades, whether you use it as magic essence a little bit later to help you craft. There's kind of lots of different choices to be made around what you want to do with it. Zealot, for the Lost City and Living Garden, is there any chance for other rewards beside the Petal Scarf slot, eh? What time is it? I don't know if I'm going to get out my spreadsheet, because I think we might be here all day. Tell you what, we'll open it up on the side here. Mousey Pichu still has a tooth for the scarf. If that's what worked last year, and I think you're right, because I think that's how it worked, then it is still that way. Why won't my computer unlock? Again, check out the patch notes section. I did my best. I did my best to try to itemize changes from the event from last year to this year, including Golem rewards. That said, I did notice I missed one. There was a lot of things going on, so I apologize. So I could be missing something else, but I endeavored. I tried my very best. Living Garden. We got to go to a spreadsheet for this one. I don't think we can do too much of this, though. Living Garden, where are you? In Living Garden, you can hunt where you want to hunt in Living Garden. Scarf slot has herbs, petals, and an eye essence are the only things available in the scarf slot for the Living Garden. The plume pearl, herbs, and the Lunaria petals are the only thing in that slot. How do you feel about fan-made objectives such as Mastery, where you're encouraged to get silver crowns for a certain archetype of mice? Yeah, it's interesting. They're fun little stretch goals. They're fun personal goals. Yeah, personally, I think we got to be a little bit careful about making those too official. You know what I mean? That it's like when it's right there and you see it in the game, it kind of encourages more people to try to do it that maybe aren't interested in that type of like extreme goal. But anywhere we can like celebrate it in a nice subtle way, you know, don't gate any sort of important things behind that as well. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. Did you buff the golden part drop rate? You're getting one almost every hunt. We didn't touch it. I mean, we tuned some of the mice ever so slightly, but it is basically the same as it was last year. We tuned the mice a bit for maps to try to get them. We wanted no low encounter rate mice, which is 5% is kind of our cutoff of like that's getting pretty low. And we even made the maps a little shorter. We play tested a few different versions, and I can't remember what we settled on. I think the nice map is 12. Is the naughty 15? I can't even remember now. We went through a few iterations. But a goal there, we wanted to take away some of the lower encounter rate mice. And so I'm pretty sure there are no mice on the naughty or nice maps that have lower than a 5% chance to encounter them when you have the right cheese and everything equipped. The New Year's maps that are coming, that might be not the case for them. I think they have a few more mice, but that's it. You can have 10 people on that map, so they kind of fly by. One Dash, you're glad for the responses. They've always been helpful. Glad we can do what we do. Dave, can we get prolific printing paper by hatting or scarfing a golem? So no, the only place you can get it from the Great Winter Hunt is from the reward track. You do get some when you claim the base. It comes with some paper. The placeholder asset is cash. Let's take a look at this. Nice. Looking sharp right there. Looking sharp. You can tell we implemented it before the art was done, I think. Yeah. So the only place you can get it from the Winter Hunt is on the reward track. When you claim the base, it comes with some paper. It would be a little bit weird to put in the Golem rewards because, at least right now, it's a limited edition base. So the paper is only useful if you have a limited edition item. So it kind of doesn't really make sense to add it to the Golems and then have it come back next year. It might be a little bit awkward. So right now, that's the only place you can get it from the Winter Hunt. And then other than that, you have to go to the Folklore Forest, and each shop there sells it for a different cost. You can use coins, pennies, prizes, eggs. Mari, you've been programmed. I see the horn and you want to click it. Uh-oh, we'll hide it. We'll hide it here. We'll like load up the Snowball Showdown. Let's do a quick round of the Snowball Showdown. What do you think this is? I'm going to say it's the star. It's never what you think it is it? Uh-oh. What? Snowball Showdown gets you. It's out. It's out to get you. All right, what do we think this is? This has to be two different shapes. Those can't be connected. Is this the Yule log? Is this the star? This has got to be the star. And the hat has to be hiding out over here. This is a pretty good way to get some hats as well. If you've got a lot of snowballs, remember you can exchange it at the general store to get a dust, and a dust is a hat once you finish the board. not too bad. Wasn't too bad of a run. Here, maybe we can get that off the screen. We're about to wrap up anyway here. I'm the same way. I see the horn. You'd be surprised because it's a test environment. Or when we're working on the game, it's often open up in a tab, and I'll tab back to something I'm working on. I see the horn, I click it. I'm like, what am I doing? This isn't. This doesn't count. I click it, and it just comes straight back. So, Norm, that's your art. You're so proud. Yeah. I've got placeholder art that's in the game. All right. Yeah. Summer, is it just me, or does the snowman at the labyrinth on the map look like he's more frustrated than all the others? That is a cute little touch. I think Dev Andrew added the golems to the map as I download a massive image. Yay. One day we'll break this off into tiles, but that's not today. That's going to take a minute to download from our test server. It doesn't have a lot of horsepower. So you're saying there's a sad-looking golem down by the labyrinth, eh? A little bit. Maybe that golem is just feeling a little lost right now. Maybe that's it. I'm not sharing my screen. Uh-oh. Maybe that golem's just feeling a little bit lost right now. All right, there we go. Now the joke can land. But we better wrap things up. It's almost noon over here. You don't have to downgrade to Gouda and Super Brie when you have plenty of Pecan and Glazy to do maps. If you do the naughty lists, they do not have any mice that are not attracted to event cheese. So just don't do nice maps. If you've got lots of event cheese, just start doing the naughty maps. One dash, why does it say placeholder if it's already released? It's cached, so it's just cached in my browser. I must have been playing this while there was placeholder art that got replaced, so I'd have to clear my browser cache, and then the real asset would appear. But the fun parts of the internet. Ali's, any thoughts about the new base and the Signature Series Denture base? So, reminder too, the base only works in the Folklore Forest region, and the plan is it will work in areas that have yet to be released as well. As long as there are areas in that region, it'll work. So, the School of Sorcery is around the corner. It's going to be part of the Folklore Forest. The base will work in the School of Sorcery, as an example. And so, we tried to find a spot. Hopefully, we found a right kind of mark there where it felt sufficiently better than the Signature Series Denture base, because it was a bit of a gray area. We tried a few versions. One, what if it had the same stats? Then it really started to come down to how expensive is the paper? How much can I get the paper? Because toothlets aren't all that hard to get. I mean, when you start using them, they deplete, like anything else. But they don't feel very hard to get the tootlet as much as it is to get the paper, at least in the short term. So we wanted to make it better so that there was no gray area when you're trying to figure out what the cost of the paper would be. And so hopefully we found a mark where it feels significant, like you feel the difference at 57 luck. That said, I don't have a trivia question this week, but I do have a reward link. I'm going to dig that up. I'm going to dig up a reward link because we got to wrap things up here. It is noon. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. I'm out of hailstones. It happened. Hold on, I'm moving to the workshop. I'm hunting at the fort without hailstones. That's unacceptable. Oh no, I lost my Larry link. Where'd you go? All right, this week, it's just a freebie. It is Festive Cheer. Oh man, I can't get the oh, there we go. All right, I am going to put a reward in the chat. It is just free to click. Norm suggested a trivia question for today, and it was, let's just do it for fun. I won't put it up on the screen here, but we'll see if anyone gets the correct answer. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be the actual correct answer, but we'll see if this plays out, as Norm predicted. How many snowflakes are there in the entire Great Winter Taiga? How many snowflakes do you think are laying on the ground? Summit's wondering what the math is behind 57 luck. Like I said, we were tuning it against different mice in the area, seeing how it affected catch rate. We played with 50, 60, 55, and ultimately we landed on 57. So it was a combination of kind of what the effect we wanted to have against certain mice in certain areas, as well as just perception-wise. As we often say, the math has to check out, but then it just has to look right too. It has to feel good. It has to feel like a big enough of an upgrade. And 5 was a bit of a gray area where it still had a pretty good effect. But remember, luck works exponentially. So the difference between 1 and 2 luck is not very significant. The difference between 50 and 51 luck is massive because luck increases exponentially. The higher the number goes, the stronger luck gets. Fleming, I think, got the first, well, air quotes, correct answer, 42. So Norm predicted if we asked that question, somebody would say 42. So Fleming, you have to thank for getting the kind of correct answer, the answer we were looking for anyway. There are 42 snowflakes in the tag. And no, I think looking at the map, there's a lot more than that. But Norm thought somebody would guess 42. So that sounds like an okay answer to accept. Nid, is it still snowflakes when it lands on the ground and combines with other snowflakes? Yes, that's many snowflakes. Unless is there something, you have an atom and a molecule, and a molecule is many atoms. Is there like the equivalent terminology for like a mega snowflake? I don't know. Fleming is a winner today. Thank you for the 20 throwable snowballs. Indeed, click the link in the chat for 20 throwable snowballs. I'll put it up on the screen here too, just in case anybody finds that beneficial. Let's see here. Look at that tiny text. There we go. Apologies for white text on a light colored background, but I think that's the best I can do on a whim. Is there a place I can put this where it's legible? Not really, eh? Here you go. Boom. Let's get some contrast going here. You ready? There we go. That should help. 20 throwable snowballs at the link above. And on that note, I think it's just about time to wrap up what turned into a lengthy Feedback Friday. So thank you for joining me today, hunters. Thank you for sharing your initial impressions and your thoughts and your feedback about the Great Winter Hunt. Like I said, as always, we keep our ear to the ground. I noticed there's a few different places and a few different community groups. Hunters do a fantastic job of summarizing Feedback Friday. Just taking some bullet point notes, sharing a link to the video, and going, here's what came up today. And we circle around, we peek our eye at those summaries, and often there's comments. And that's just one of the ways that we're always kind of looking out for a little bit of feedback. We jot it down, we put it in some software that will remind us about it, in September or something like that when we start planning the Great Winter Hunt. So we'll be looking for that feedback. So keep it coming as the Great Winter Hunt continues to roll out. Remember, there's an animated snowstorm coming. I'm not going to tempt fate and say the date here, but the news post has it detailed as well. Where's the animated snowstorm part? This was a big news post. It's kind of too big, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's a little too much information. So December 14, keep your eye on the news section as well. We'll post a little bit more info the day before, probably December 13. We'll probably do a news post about the animated snowstorm. So, look forward to that. There'll be 2 animated snowstorms this year, so and 2 just little heads up. I think compared to last year, the animated snowdrops are a little reduced in quantity, but there will be 2 storms, so it's still an overall win, if I can call it that. Overall, it's more snow will fall this year. It's going to be 2 smaller storms rather than one big one. And we'll be kind of keeping close feedback on that because there's a lot of ideation we did around how to handle the snowstorms. And next year we might want to do something a little bit more creative with it. So we'll be keeping our ears to the ground for feedback on that. Time to wait 2 more weeks. Well, Jacob should be around. Hopefully he's feeling better. He's been a little under the weather this week, but hopefully he'll be back next Friday to do an illustration. And actually that's a good note to end on as well. Then the week after that's a little bit up in the air. That's kind of the final day before we take a holiday break here. That's the last Friday, and we have kind of some get-togethers planned as well for that Friday. So there may or may not be a Feedback Friday on December 22. I think that's the date. That's the date that's in my head here, but I think that's a couple Fridays from now. There may or may not be. Might be something similar to last year. We kind of did an impromptu. Popped on, said hello. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Great Winter Hunt, and all that. And then we kind of headed off, and we had a little company get-together in the afternoon. So we may end up doing something like that, but we'll see. I'll kind of post some news maybe in the ticker, and we'll kind of get the word out best we can. But again, thank you for joining me. Enjoy the Great Winter Hunt. Happy holiday hunting, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Should be Jacob next week, and maybe me the following week. If not, we might be on a little bit of a Feedback Friday hiatus. So just kind of help spread the word there, and we'll see how things play out on December 22. Michelle said, "Everybody win." Hey Eugene, thank you for the holiday wishes. Will treasure maps be removed from the cartographer at shutdown? Oh boy, we're tempting fate. I don't think they will, but don't hold me to that. I don't know. We'll outline it in a news post when the shutdown occurs. That said, you can only have 3 of them in your inventory, so if you're nervous about it, just buy 3. They're not that, they don't cost that many relics, and then you're all set just in case. All right, well, once again, thank you for joining me, everybody. I will see you next time. Happy holiday hunting. Enjoy the rest of the winter hunt.
1, 2. You're a trap. Don't seem to mind it. You attract me. I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry. Oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap.